Hey guys, SoloBase15 here, and today we have the final round of the exhibition, and this one was for first place in my pod. I've touched briefly in my other videos on what I look at before the round even starts, so since this one is for the championship, I thought I'd go a little more in depth for you. The first tool I'll talk about is the DSR bot. This is a bot that goes onto a Discord server and lets you compare your roster with the roster of your opponent. They added a new stat category for the bot, which is the GA stats that you see on the screen now. And I think that this category is going to be the most telling and the best way to scout your opponent. So what can we see from these stats? Well, I have more offensive wins while she has a staggering 89 defensive wins in GA. So what that tells me is she's probably going to go with a heavy defense. And that makes sense because the team that she beat to get to me had a faster Revan and overall faster mods to begin with. That means I'm already thinking I'm going to have to go more offensive with my team selection. Taking a look at my opponent's stats, I'm ahead of them on mods, but they have solid mods as well, so the mod situation probably won't make as big of a difference. I have the advantage with speed, but it's not something I can rely on. And while taking a look at the other roster stats, it looks like we're about even there. So this is going to be a good matchup. Now let's switch focus to the other tool I use, and that's the Google Sheets document that I've shown in the past couple of videos. And I'll actually leave a link to my Google Sheets document in the bottom of this video so you can see my entire pod. You'll also see two overview pages at the front of my sheet that will show you the lifetime stats for both my main account and my alt, which does not quite have the mods or zetas that my main account does. So let's take a look at the Revan matchups. When it comes to actual matchups, the two Revans are the only ones that I'm worried about comparing side by side. That's because I'm going to use Jedi Knight Revan to take out their Jedi Knight Revan, and I'm going to use my Darth Revan to take out their Darth Revan. Otherwise, I'm just looking at the stats of the other teams to get a sense of what I'm up against. As I said earlier, I'm expecting my opponent to go heavy on defense based on her GA stats so far, so I'm expecting at least one of these matchups. So when I'm looking at the Jedi Knight Revan matchup, it looks like I'm going to get off the bat and go first, but her Yoda is going to do some more damage. I know this sheet is showing physical damage, and Yoda's a special damage character, but if physical damage is higher, special damage is going to be higher as well. So now let's look at the Darth Revan matchup, and you'll see I have the speed on Darth Revan, but my opponent has the speed on Bastila, and that could make all the difference. If you're also looking at the stats here, there's an EHP stat, and what that is it's health and protection compared to armor. So it's basically survivability. The next character we'll look at is Traya. Now, you don't really see Traya on defense anymore, and that's because she's just so good at taking out so many of the problem teams like Night Sisters, Grievous, basically any team that has team synergy, because her isolate can eliminate that synergy quickly. Whether on offense or defense, my opponent seems to have Traya modded well and very survivable. So it's something I have to keep in mind. Next, we take a look at the Padme squad. Now, Padme should be an offensive squad. They can just do so much and shut down so many teams. But we've seen a lot of people putting Padme on defense, even though she's so easily countered by a simple EP team. Now, I'm expecting my opponent to go heavy on defense, and so this is a team we could very well end up seeing. And the good news is, I can get both my Vader and Thrawn to go before her team, so I should have a good shot at countering it. So next up are two teams I expect to face every GA. And the first one is droids. As you can see, my opponent has a G12 General Grievous, B1 Battle Droid is G11, and both of our teams are about the same. The one thing that you'll note is the health on my opponent's Grievous is 64,000. That means Grievous is going to be hitting hard. Next up is Night Sisters, and as you can see, both my opponents Asajj and Zombie are quite fast, and so it's going to be a tough Night Sister team to face if I don't bring in the right team. The final team I'm going to look at is Bounty Hunters. Now, this is a team that should only be used on offense because of their protection regen, but a lot of people end up putting them on defense because they don't know how to use them on offense. And so here you can see my opponent has a 285 speed Bosk. What that means to me is I can't use my first order to take on Bosk because he's going to be faster than my KRU. That shouldn't really be a problem because I can always use JTR and get out ahead of Bosk anyway. So now let's take a look at the board and what I'm looking at before I start each fight. First thing we can see is a very strong front line with CLS, Padme, and then you're going to see on the other zone, Night Sisters and Droids. So usually I like to attack the strongest team, which it looks like would be Night Sisters here. But I have a Padme counter, and so I decided to use that first. As I said earlier, you shouldn't put Padme on defense because EP is going to easily counter her. Now, I don't have IPD built up. I should have IPD built up, but as you can see, he's still only G8. And that's actually going to cause a problem in this fight because I don't get the turn meter going that I usually get. Things actually started off great. I got debuffs on all 5 of the members, which means as they shed the debuffs, I'm going to gain turn meter. Then I got GK fractured, which is always the good thing. And then they got a turn, and as you can see, my G8 IPD just could not survive. Now, he's in the team because he can cleanse the protection up from the other team and stop them from A, having protection up and being harder to kill, but B, they shed the protection up, which then gives them offense. And so by me cleansing the protection up with IPD or Death Trooper, it's going to take their offense away and make them a less threatening team. Now, at this point in the match, I'm down a man, but I'm basically in full control. As you can see, I can take out Anakin here, and he's their biggest threat, other than Ahsoka. They're using Barriss, so I'm not too worried about what C-3PO can add to the team. And in fact, the Barriss team just is not anywhere near as good as they are when they have 3PO. So at this point, it's been 4-on-5 for the basically entire fight, and as you can see, I've never really been threatened by this Padme team because EP is just such a great counter. And I'm going to save Barriss for last because she's actually helping my team. When she takes a turn, she's going to cleanse one of her teammates' debuffs, and that's just going to feed my team turn meter. So Barriss was there to try and make the team tougher, and instead all she did was help my team. Now, the one bad thing about this match was I only got 55 banners because I lost IPD at the beginning. Next up is the CLS team, so we can close out this zone and see what's hiding in the back. Now, earlier I said I was expecting at least one of Jedi Knight Revan or Darth Revan placed on defense. And I also said that I would use my Jedi Knight Revan as a counter to their Jedi Knight Revan. But I had to change my opinion here because this CLS team is a very good CLS team. And more importantly, they added Nest to it. So everybody's going to be countering. Nest is a pain to get rid of as it is. Han, as you saw, stunned Ezra, and he's going to be taken out quite shortly here. So going with Revan was actually a good choice because Jolie is going to be able to revive Ezra, and then that'll get my team going. Now, the key to beating a CLS team is taking out Chewbacca first, because he's guarding both CLS and Han. So that was my first mark and my first target. And now that he's gone, I can take out Han fairly easily. As you're going to see, the nice part about Jedi Knight Revan's lead is anytime one of your units attacks out of turn, they're regenerating protection. So Ezra died once, was revived, but now he's almost back to full health and his protection is growing rapidly. So I'm going to start using assists on Ezra so that we can regen his protection and we can regen Jedi Knight Revan's protection to try and maximize banners, because Nest is a pain here and she takes a while to kill, but I can keep her stunned and keep attacking to regen the protection and maximize my banners. With this match easily in hand, we can already start to see how my opponent beat somebody that had a better roster and a faster Darth Revan team. And it's because you have to make tough choices in these front zones. There's 3 very strong teams, and I had to use my Jedi Knight Revan, hoping that I don't find Jedi Knight Revan in a back zone. Luckily, as we can see, there's Carth and Phoenix, and neither one of them are going to provide any sort of threat. So I can go in with strong teams against the bottom front zone, which I'll do now. We're going to start seeing G13 General Grievous teams in GA soon, but my opponent only has a G12 Grievous, and so I'm going to use Traya. Now, this is a risky composition because I'm going in 1 man down, and Sith Assassin is quite squishy, which could become a problem because the B1 battle droid goes often and hits hard. So there's a very good chance I lose my Sith Assassin. But I'm able to isolate one of the droids and then focus on B2. Ideally, I would have liked to isolate B2 so I can go after the other droids. But because of the stealth, I isolate Magma, and he's never going to be able to taunt, so I can just go after B2 anyway. I'm going to lose Sith Assassin here, which obviously is a problem, but the good news is he's going to lose his B1. And his B1 actually had the Zeta, so the 100 full stacks at the beginning, so the speed of this team actually killed him. And now that B1 is gone, the threat is mostly minimized because I'm able to take out B2 and just the 3 remaining droids. And since Magna can't taunt, Nihilus is able to assassinate Grievous and basically end this team. Now, you'll see that Droideka had his damage immunity up, but the nice part about this Traya team is that Nihilus can just cleanse that buff out from him and the team falls fairly quickly. So I went in undersized. I usually finish with 57 banners, and there I ended with 55. Not the best, not the worst, and those Grievous teams are hard to max banners on anyway. The last team in this zone I have to worry about is a very strong Night Sister team. So I have 2 options. 1, I can use Padme, or 2, I can use Bossk. And you can see here I kind of go between the 2, trying to decide which one I'm going to use. At the end of the day, this is a very fast Night Sister team, and you're going to see me here looking at the mods and looking at Spirit, who wasn't on the sheet, and looking at Zombie again, trying to decide who I want to use. Now, because of their speed, and because of the problems I had with Bossk in the first match in this GA, I decided to go with Padme because it should be a fairly easy win, because Padme, when she gets the protection up, is going to stop Talzin from applying Plague. And so it's going to take one of the biggest threats of the team out of the game. So the idea with this Night Sister team is the same idea with every Night Sister team. I'm going to dispel taunt off of Zombie. The nice thing about 3PO applying Confuse is that Zombie won't be able to get taunt when she takes a turn, and so that's going to give me a direct route to Daka. And here you're going to see I decided to use the mass attack to go after Asajj. Was it the right decision? Maybe, maybe not. But either way, it got me the kill I need. And there's Asajj getting killed for the second kill. So now I really just have to go through my paces, and as you can see, Night Sisters are not really a threat to this Padme team. The one thing you'll notice as this fight goes along is I'm never really threatened by this Night Sister team. In fact, you can see that most of my characters have full protection here. But the fight is going to drag out because they just have so much survivability. Also, if you're not using 3PO with Padme, it's going to be much harder because Zombie is going to be taunting much more often. Now, the one thing you do have to worry about is, as you can see a few times, Asajj has cleansed all of my buffs. And the problem with that is Padme gives protection up, and a lot of the members of this team give protection up, and then they convert the protection up into the stacks of their other buff, which is what makes them hit hard. And so with Asajj cleansing the protection up, they never get to stack courage, and they never get to hit as hard. So it's one thing you have to keep an eye out on for, but as I said earlier, this team really is never going to threaten you. So the kill order for this Night Sister team, as you can see what I'm doing is you take out Daka first so that she can't revive anyone. At that point, you take out Talzin because she also is going to give you the ability to revive somebody with her special attack. Then Spirit is causing me the most problems in this fight. So I went after Spirit rather than Asajj. Really, either way isn't going to matter. If you take out Asajj before Spirit, it's just, I like to take out Spirit when I can because she always has the foresight up. Now, beating this Night Sister team has led to the back zone, which has a Scoundrel team without Nest, so a little less of a threat, more of a nuisance because they have Captain Hana in it, and then also a Bosk team. And you're going to see me make a huge mistake here. So earlier I talked about their Bosk having 285 speed and being faster than my First Order. And it's also a double Zeted Bosk. So the speed lets Bosk get up a taunt, and I'm going to be stuck trying to take down a very strong Bosk who's regenerating protection, and my First Order just isn't good enough. The other problem is, and we've talked about this in other videos, my First Order team is not the ideal team. I never geared First Order Stormtrooper, so when Kylo loses his taunt here, they have a clear shot at First Order Officer, which is going to make this fight even harder for him. So this is a perfect example of why people think Bosk is good on defense. It's because people like me make mistakes and really hurt themselves. So what's going to happen is it's going to take me 2 minutes to kill Bosk. I've already lost First Order Officer, and I haven't even dented the rest of the team. Now the good news is, while this is all going on, based on Fox's abilities, he's building up strength, and he's going to be able to take out the rest of this team fairly quickly once Bosk is down. Unfortunately, it's still going to take me about 3.5 minutes to take down what's really not that good of a bounty hunter team, just a fast Bosk. Now, I lost First Order Officer, and as you can see, First Order TIE Pilot is being damaged badly. But the nice thing about First Order against bounty hunters is you can see KRU, Masked Kylo, and Fox really are never in danger. So now that Bosk is gone, the goal is going to be take out threats from highest to lowest. So we're going to take out Baba here because he's got the execute, he's got the ability block, and his ability block prevents Kylo from giving the rest of the team turn meter. Technically, Dengar would be second on the list, but because of his kit, he's very difficult to get to. So we're going to take out Bosk the first time here. Fox has a ton of power, so he basically takes out Bosk second time. And now we're going to switch to Greedo, because we need to get rid of these thermal detonators. And in fact, he just took multiple attacks to take out my First Order TIE Pilot. So that's why he's next, because the thing about these thermal detonators is they're going to do a lot of damage on you, and they're going to steal banners. And at this point, I need to recover as many banners as I can, because I need to salvage after my mistake. And I've already put myself in a bad position with my opponent having a lot of room to make mistakes on her own, because I lost Sith Assassin against the droids, lost IPD against Padme, and now I've lost 2 against Bosk. It's not a good showing on. Dengar is about to be taken out here, which is going to leave me with 3 teams left, in which I have to maximize my banners because of that awful 52 banner showing against Bosk. So I have Scoundrels, Carth, and Phoenix, and normally I would just clear out a zone, but in this case, I want to take out their strongest team with my strongest team, and in that case, I still have Darth Revan left. And Carth can cause troubles if you don't approach him with the right team anyway, so it's better to just go in with my strength against their strength, and I should easily be able to clear out the banners. Though as you can see here, I was thinking about whether or not I would use JTR or a Darth Revan, because JTR is a very good counter against Carth as well. Now, the nice part about using Darth Revan against this team is I'm just coming off of a 3.5 minute long fight, and you're going to see here that after HK goes, this fight is going to last a total of 16 seconds. So I went from my longest fight of the round with the lowest banners to my shortest fight of the round, and I was able to get 58 banners on that one. So now again, I'm trying to maximize my banners for these last two fights, and so you're going to see me back out, see who I have left to fight with, then back out again. I'm going to check the other team, see who's there, and basically I have Bosk and JTR, and I'm trying to decide who I want to use against each person here. So at the end of the day, I decide to go up and take out this Phoenix team, which really doesn't look that difficult with my bounty hunters. And I'm doing this to try and get 60 banners because we need to make up for all the banners that I've lost earlier in the round. Now here, you can see their Phoenix team is very slow. I'm able to complete my contract against Sabine and take her out of the mix fairly quickly. And she's really the only threat on this team because Ezra is being used on a different team. My guess is Jedi Knight Revan on offense. Now, they have no threat, but what they are going to do is counter a lot because Kanan is in the team. Now, I could have gone after Kanan to stop the countering. Probably should have, but instead I went after Hera with the idea that I didn't want her to give a revive to somebody and me have to kill them twice and risk losing banners that way. So instead I took Hera first, and now I'm going to try and take out Kanan. Of course, the problem is Chopper is going to taunt because there's 3 tanks left. So luckily Embo can clear the taunt and I can go after Kanan. Both Kanan and Zeb were G12 and had their Zetas on this team, but as you can see, it really didn't make any difference against my bounty hunter team. Now, one thing I can say is if you have a team like this, since a lot of people geared up Phoenix early on in the Heroic Sith raid days, keep them for offense as well because they're going to do well against Carth. But as you can see on defense, I was able to get 60 banners against them with my bounty hunter. That leaves my final fight as a Scoundrel team that's designed to be annoying and not good. And why I say that is there's really no threat offensively on this team. Kira's probably the only attacker, and I love Kira's kit. She provides a lot, but she's not going to take out L3 on her own. Instead, what my opponent did is build in 2 revivers and L3, who's an excellent tank. And the idea for the team is kill Vandor, CHS revives Vandor, gets prepped, and then you have to kill Vandor again. In this case, I'm able to kill Vandor, and he gets revived, but JTR is just too good of a team and does too much. So without them providing any threat to me, I'm able to take out 1 revive. Then the next turn, I'm going to take out the 2nd revive, and this team is stuck. Now, if my opponent had placed Nest in this team, and you had CHS and Vandor with Nest and L3 and Kira lead, it would have been a very difficult team. But instead, what my opponent did was put Nest in the front zone with CLS, and as you saw, I had to use one of my stronger teams to beat that team, which is good that I needed to use a good team early on, but at the same time, it leaves a very easy team for the back zone and another 60 banners for this fight for me. As you can see throughout my fights today, I did not do well, and I'm going to end up with 1,895 banners, which is the lowest of this GA. I guess that in theory makes sense as this was the championship, so it should be the hardest. Now, I had to wait for my opponent to attack to see how it would finish, but as you can see, I was able to get the win. So let's take a look at what stopped my opponent. As you can see in the front zone, I used CLS and Carth, both strong teams, and they're both going to make you use a fairly decent team, but she was able to one-shot them. Next zone was Rex, Wampa, and Troopers, and I can tell you right now, Troopers shouldn't be there, but they're a placeholder for next GA when I get the Geos up. I'm actually really excited about getting the Geos on defense because I like a heavy offense, but they're really going to make my defense strong as well. My bottom back zone is housing my droid team and my thermal detonator team. Now the droids, as we've discussed every video, are just good on defense. The thermal detonator team is also good on defense because, as we saw last round, those thermal detonators can steal a lot of protection. So while I never expect to actually get a win with them, I do expect them to get me some banners taken off of the other team. Now the top back zone is what got me the win. You can see here Kira Nest was taken out in one shot, but my opponent wasn't able to clear my Night Sisters. 4 attacks and they were still left standing at the end. Now, one thing we can talk about with Night Sisters here is that they're not a good team that you can whittle down. There are other teams where you can go in with multiple teams and take out, say, Jolie, and then take out Grandmaster Yoda, and it might take you 3 fights, but you can whittle down a Jedi Knight Revan team. Night Sisters aren't like that because the zombies' revive mechanics are reset every time you enter a fight. So you have to take out 3 toons, essentially, if you want to whittle down 1 toon in a fight. And that's just not very practical. And so you can see my opponent gave my team turn meter here, but was never actually able to take somebody out. So with that, I was able to finish first and win the pod. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next GA with more videos of my attacks.